the night, which hindered our ability to quickly respond. We had to wait for the storm to move through the area so we could get back out and do that. We've seen over 2,600 down power lines at this point. It's an extremely high amount compared to other seasonal storms. We're working very diligently to make sure that we get out, take care of that, and relieve our public safety officials that are on those down power lines. Safety is our top priority. The safety of our team, the safety of the public, and the safety of the emergency responders that are out supporting us. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Greg.
Thanks, Chris. In a restoration event of this magnitude, we have a prioritization scheme that we use to be sure that we restore the most important things first for society in general. We start with hospitals and critical medical care facilities, fire departments, police departments, water treatment plants, broadcast media, TV and radio stations for emergency communications. And we're very sensitive to the fact that school has either started this week or will start next week for many school systems. And we will be also prioritizing restoration of schools so that school can begin on Monday across the territory. Once these priorities are addressed, we turn to the remainder of our restoration work and the residential customers across the system. We rely heavily on our outage map and our mobile application to communicate with customers. It's a valuable tool to help customers make the best and safest decisions during a power outage. The colored shades of the shapes on our outage map indicate how many customers are impacted in a specific outage, and in general, the area of the outage. Once the outage has a crew assigned to it, the map will show a green border around the shape. That means that there's a crew who will be moving into that area as soon as they're complete with the work they may be currently working on elsewhere to evaluate the damage and begin to isolate, repair, and restore power. It may take time for the outage to be restored, and they may find more damage than they expected. But as you see the green margin around the shape, you can be sure that somewhere out there, there's a crew who knows about your outage and is on the way to work on it. And if your outage shape doesn't have a green margin, we know it's there and we're working to assign it in priority order, like I mentioned before. There's 5 steps in restoring power. The outage gets reported either by a customer or through our automated system. And at that time, we start to calculate an estimated time of restoration, which is what you'll see if you click on the outage in the shade. We have crews who are trained from our engineering staff to go out and assess damage and help us understand how much time it's going to take and how many crews will be required. The crews are then dispatched and they arrive on the scene, and the first thing they do is identify any hazards that need to be controlled for their safety. As always, the first and most challenging risk to control is traffic control. So we ask that people who need to be on the roads are very careful and slow down and go around any crew that's set up. We use signs and we use cones, but that's a critical aspect of having a safe and effective restoration. The crews make the repairs, and then they restore power to the line. The estimated times of restoration are very important, and we recognize that it means a lot to our customers, and we work very hard to keep those accurate. We know that some customers may experience changes to their estimated restoration times, and that can happen as we find more damage than we might have thought, or as crews get busy with previous work orders they may have been working on and aren't able to arrive on the scene as soon as we estimated that they might. We're committed to work around the clock with the extremely large numbers that Chris mentioned so that we are largely restored across the territory by late on Sunday. In closing, I want to thank everybody for their patience and their attention to the safety of our crews restoring power. We are all hands on deck on this storm across the company. You can report an outage or check the status of your outage by visiting consumersenergy.com/outage center. You can also sign up to get outage alerts and restoration times sent to a phone, email, or through text message at that site. We urge everyone to stay 25 feet away from any down power line, and especially to keep children and pets away, and report the issue by calling 911 and our Consumers Energy call center at 1-800-477-5050. We also ask that the public keeps a safe distance from the crews because they may be working with live power while doing restoration. Thank you all for being here today, and I'll turn it back over to Brian to facilitate Q&A.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Chris. So we have some time. If there are questions from the group here, the easiest thing to do would be put your hand up virtually, and I can call you out. Okay. How about Andy from Cranes?
Thanks, Brian. I was just kind of wondering, what consumers was sort of anticipating as far as the extent of the damage going into this, and when you were sort of aware that these storms would be as significant as they were.
Yeah, Andy, I appreciate the question. We meet with the meteorologists 3 to 4 times a day when we see weather coming in, and we've met with them Wednesday night and looked at EEI2 level winds, so gusts up into the 50, 55 mile an hour range, sustained winds in the 35, and some thunderstorm threat. When we got up Thursday morning, that had moved to EEI level 4s with winds up to 75, and that's when we quickly started to go and secure additional resources, make plans for that. We brought on 213 additional crews yesterday, and then as I mentioned earlier, we went and secured an additional 300 crews throughout the overnight and this morning as the magnitude came through. So the volatility with the warmer lake and what we saw more damage than what we forecasted working with the meteorologist, but we quickly made adjustments to get the resources here to restore safely.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for the question, Andy. Maggie George.
Hi, so I'm curious, compared to the rest of the country, if Michigan's daily average power outages are higher than average, and what the daily power outage average is across the country, and how far back you have data for that.
Maggie, today, actually, if you were to check out poweroutage.us, you'd see that Ohio absorbed nearly the same amount of damage as we did from this system. So during circumstances like this, the electric grid is susceptible to these kind of winds and storms universally across the Great Lakes region.
Thank you.
Andy, do you have your hand up again? Oh, no, you just put it down. Okay. You'd be missing here. I don't see any other hands that are up. I'll take a moment here in case anybody has questions. Okay, well, it's Friday afternoon. It's maybe a quiet bunch. Anyone with any other questions at all? Here's your chance. Okay, well, thank you all for your time. Really appreciate you being here today. As always, you can stay in touch with Consumers Energy's media relations team. We'll be sending out our next company news release at 4:30 this afternoon with more updates, and then again later tonight. So we will be communicating today, tonight, through the weekend. If you have any needs or questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Chris, for your time, and I appreciate everybody being here. Hope it's a great afternoon.
Thank you all.